Good day, friends. This is a voice-only video because, as you know, I believe a face to be just a distraction. First of all, thank you for being here. Your presence is very much appreciated. Today's topic is how to develop resilience, which I believe is a very important quality to possess. Let us paint a picture together. When you encounter a major setback, are you able to spring back to your stable self, or do you crumble to pieces? When you are resilient, you can find somewhere, somehow, the ability to summon all the energy you have to get back on your feet. If resilience is not within you, the risks are to complain, to feel victimized, to dwell on the issue, and eventually, possibly, resort to unhealthy means of coping, such as abuse of intoxicating substances. The best meaning of resilience I was able to draft is that ability to get back on your feet after every fall and to recover after every defeat. We borrowed the concept from material sciences, where resilience is the ability of certain materials to resist pressure and to flex with elasticity and then return to their original shapes. I truly believe resilience can be a chosen path. You can choose not to let yourself go, and you can choose to get back up. The definition sort of overlaps with what we imagine strength and toughness should be. Tough is not he who never goes down, but tough is he who goes down and gets up every time. If you go down and you do not get up, that's when you lose. If you go down and you stay down, you've lost. The difference is made when you get up or you don't get up. Resilience is not a gift that only some possess. It is a learned trait and can be developed by anyone willing to make the effort to go through hard times and not give up. Resilience won't make your problems go away, obviously, but resilience can give you the ability to see past them, find enjoyment in life, and better handle stress. If you aren't as resilient as you'd like to be, you can develop skills to become more resilient. We could imagine resilience as a life lesson. Some things happen to us regardless of how prepared we are, to accept them. Some good, some bad, and some even worse. The good ones we tend to forget quickly, and nothing much is learned. The bad ones we recover from in a short while, and we learn very little. Worst-case scenarios are the ones we struggle to recover from, but teach us valuable lessons that last us a lifetime. If we are resilient enough, we might even use those lessons to become better human beings and to lend a hand to others who might be struggling. Resilience allows us to grow as a human being. If we are not resilient, we cannot get back up. And not only can we help no one, but we ourselves become a burden. We will learn later in the video how to become more resilient, or how to become resilient if you're not. We will need to tap into skills that we already have, that we already possess. We just require assistance in discovering the power nestled inside our innate toolbox. The difference in our reactions lies in the ability to spring back after trauma. Some are unable to resiliate and succumb to their trauma. Therefore, resilience can be a life-saving attribute. What differentiates two individuals that are subject to the same atrocities, but have opposite reactions? What does one have that the other does not? That something that empowers one to survive and the other to succumb to the same dramatic experience. What is the difference in the personality of these two people? That distinction appears to be the ability to visualize the future. In short, he who has a why will survive. Let's make it clear, the ability to see the future has no link to the concept of optimism, as in tough circumstances, a healthy dose of realism is vital. No need to underestimate the issue. No need to be optimistic for free. Overt optimism might get you killed, and so will the notion of despair. For opposite reasons, but both can be a death sentence. Realism is true resilience. It is the ability to look in the eyes and see reality for what it is. Reality is what it is. It is said that Thomas Edison failed more times than he succeeded, but he never gave up. As to him, every failure was just one step close to what will eventually work. The portion of his reasoning about needing a motive, a reason, a why, is particularly applicable to Edison. His behavior is the definition of acceptance, which is not resignation, beware. This is not resignation. We are not giving up. We are just accepting reality for what it is. And we keep moving forward. Things are the way they are. But this is incomplete because we also need to have a why. We need that scope, that result, that finish line to look forward to. This is where we draw our energy from. This is what brings us to life, what pushes us forward, even when all appears lost. Resilience can and will make a difference in a person's life. Since we cannot control what life throws our way, our only way to impact our reality is the way we react to difficulties, our ability to face challenges. My fascination lies in the different attitude and reaction to the same stimulus by different individuals. Why do teammates react differently to a substantial team loss? Why do combatants react to the same traumatic experience with such dramatic differences? One individual can make the best of his experience and emerge stronger, more mature, and skilled, whilst another succumbs and is never able to get back on his feet. I believe the discrimination is in the why. Having scope seems to be the key. Scope is the ability to project into the future, and resilience in this sense is very time sensitive. Resilience only looks forward. You cannot practice resilience unless you visualize that which drives you, propel you into the future. Lack of scope is in itself apathy, and even more so it doubles down on those with little resilience. If you cannot fight back, lack of scope can drive you to seeking artificial compensation to fill what I imagine would be a huge void. In the sense you know you should, but you cannot, so you look for artificial compensation. Just to be clear, the why does not necessarily have to relate to us. It's not necessarily a why that is related to I. We can derive our motivation from helping others who are less fortunate than us. And that if we don't get back on our feet, we could be endangering them by our lack of resilience. In the most dramatic times, having to care for others can be a tremendous driving force that helps some to never give up. I remember a quote from a movie. It's not important how many times you go down, provided you get up one more time. Provided you get up one time more than you've been sent to the ground. I believe that the clarity of the mission, the reason behind the why, can partially explain how some of us are more resilient than others. Some of us have a deeper why. Some of us have a more pronounced why. Some of us have a stronger why. Those that manage to identify and analyze the reasoning behind the suffering, those that understand the why, can cope with a lot more how compared to those that are oblivious of the reason for their suffering. When the scope of the mission is understood, if we share that belief, our ability to tolerate will expand to meet the task at hand. The underlying thought process is that resilience is a very individualistic activity. Not only do we react differently according to the extent of the knowledge we possess regarding our position, making it impossible to compare my level of resilience to yours. Situations are so different, and what to others seems easy, not necessarily will it be easy for us. Therefore, comparison is not a tool for self-improvement of our resilience level. Resilience is so personal that some of us prefer to barge head-on through our difficulties, whilst others believing in bypassing the obstacle, walking around the proverbial wall. This is one extra reason not to ever compare your resilience strategy to that of others. Back to my initial inquiry, why some are more resilient than others, given the same exposure? Since I do not believe that we are born with a built-in resilience reservoir, we must have been taught to be resilient. Therefore, kids who never had to face difficulties should not be very resilient, which turns out to be true. If you have been shielded, the rough awakening is not necessarily very resilient, for the same reason that he never had to develop this personality trait. Those that had to fight through abuse and violence, they too have little resilience, which is sort of counterintuitive, because they are too broken to resort to resilience and prefer to lean on violence to open doors for them. The only adults who are trained to develop resilience are those kids that were faced with a growing step-by-step level of responsibility that grows a corresponding self-worth and scope to resort to when in times of trouble, these capable adults are knocked down. They have the scope, the strength to rise again. They have been taught. Resilience is a blend of coarseness and tenderness, standing your ground and ductility, the basic abilities to look at problems but not be overwhelmed by them. As I state in my descriptions of the videos that I record, change is the only thing that we can really count on. Everything changes, and resilience can and will protect us from fear of change, which strikes far more people than imaginable. We can learn to be resilient by experience. Once we are certain, having gotten up from many severe blows, our confidence in our resilience grows. If we got up once, we can definitely get up again. Few more strategies to develop more resilience are as follows. 1. Analyze past successes where your resilience shone through and try to morph that experience. If we did it once, we can do it again. Even if the challenges are far greater, we can use the past understanding of how we reacted as a stimulus to deal with the challenges that are more complex. Identify analogous and similar cases that you can refer to. This system is actually a great confidence booster because if I know I did it once, I can do it again, makes me feel safe. We can always choose which reaction to have in front of challenges. Therefore, choose to rise. Second strategy, so strategy 2, is realize that a present loss can herald amazing openings in the future. This will not only be a splendid exercise for developing resilience. It can and will teach you that what you were denied at one point can develop into something bigger and better. This strategy implies the ability to change and be flexible. Adapt and shape your reaction to the specific situation. Strategy number 3. Think back on past experiences where you did not feel as resilient as you could have or would have liked to be. What caused that lack of positive response? And how are you different today in as much as to know that today you would react differently? Why do you think that is? What have you learned from your mistakes? How have you grown differently? This can easily be identified by practicing thought awareness. Concentrate on your emotions and feelings and see them for what they are without fear or self-judgment. Thoughts and feelings do not have to remain constant as life evolves. Let them evolve with your growth. Let us never forget to keep things in perspective. If some worries and paralyzing factors, if pulled out of context, do not really deserve the amount of energy and fear that we invest in matters that elsewhere and at other times we would brush off as a minor petty inconvenience. So actually always place the present instance in context. Since resilience is usually associated with the ability to get back to getting things done, begin with baby steps. Even the smallest task complete gives us a tremendous sense of accomplishment and a boost to our self-esteem. Getting anything done as simple as making your bed or taking out the trash has the power of infusing accomplishment into your day. One accomplishment gives us a great feeling, a great dopamine injection. And we will tend to look for more of those same feelings that will lead us to another task completed. Resilience in my book is not really a matter of choice. Better yet, it should not be. It is a matter of learning how to get back on the horse every time you fall, not if you want to do it, but how to do it. Who in their healthy mind, after a hard hit, wants to be gutted and stay that way? I'm not saying that you have a moral obligation to get back on your feet, but you owe it to yourself to give it the best try. After this epidemic, you and we will all need to implement some sort of resilient strategy, as we have been tested to our cores. But once again, allow for time to grow into the new you, and at the same time keep in mind that the alternative to getting back on your feet is far, far worse than the effort and discomfort of learning to be resilient. You have a choice, as you always do, but it's best you don't exercise the choice to stay on your knees. When life knocks you on your knees, it doesn't have to stay that way. You are amazing. Remember that. You are amazing. Remember that. It's not a glitch. I repeated that on purpose. This is motivation and inspiration in the dark, and that is all I have for you today. Thank you. If you appreciate this channel, please consider subscribing and maybe sharing with a friend. Again, I very much appreciate your time and presence.